Dun, dun, dun. One of the biggest questions I get asked often is this sensory or is it behavior? Now, I'm going to caveat with just saying that it's hardly ever one or the other. Honestly, hardly ever. I mean, something can initially start out as a sensory need, and then we realize that well, I'm getting some attention and some other fun effects from this, and then it becomes a behavioral pattern, right? We're not going to get too far into that because I want to explore this with a case study and really look at how a sensory experience could get misinterpreted as a behavioral, finger quotations, challenge if we're not being really, really curious and kind of stopping and zooming out and saying, what else can really be going on here? So I'm going to tell you a little story. I call it the tragedy of the wet pants. It was definitely a tragedy. Let me set the stage for you. I'm walking outside during my day, and I'm walking to the lunch area to see one of my classes. On the way, I see an epic meltdown happening. One of our new little guys, he was new to us, so we weren't really sure about everything that he needed at that time. And so this new little guy, he was having a really epic kind of meltdown. Like all hands on deck. There was 3 staff members there, multiple teachers kind of on the peripheral looking because it's also lunchtime, right, at the tables. And my little friend was screaming and crying and just really, really, really upset. And because no one was understanding why he was upset, because no one knew, he was started punching and hitting, all the things, crying, yelling. So at this time, I come over and I'm like, whoa. And they're like, we don't know what's happening. So I said, okay, let's like take a beat. I got to what was going on. First thing, I just let them give him some space. And I just started taking some deep breaths next to him and just kind of observing what was going on. And I see on his pants is a big wet spot, like kind of right on his upper leg, right on his thigh. And he's flailing about. And I was like, oh my goodness. I wonder if that has something to do with it, right? So I am able to get closer to him and point that out. And we are able to finally determine that this big epic meltdown was because he had the wet pants on and it was really freaking him out. That sensation of wet clothes on him, like, ooh, and I don't love that feeling either. But it was so intense for him, caused him to panic, and he already had difficulty with his communication skills. So he was unable to tell us what was going on. However, before I walked up to them and investigated further, no one knew what was happening. Some of the remarks as were walking up where, oh, he's just mad because of this, or he didn't get his way, or, they were coming up with some assumptions, which is okay. But again, let's stop and be curious, right? About what else could be really going on here. So just to recap. So I roll up on the scene, my little friend here, having a time, punching, hitting, screaming, mad, staff making assumptions. Take a beat. Come to find out, his tactile defensiveness was so out of the roof, he just couldn't hang. And guess what, friends? When we go into that state of dysregulation, when we're in that much of a panic mode, when we're at the fight or flight or freeze stage, guess what? He went into the fight stage. He was like freaking out. Eventually, he was able to get him to the bathroom in the classroom, get him into some dry clothes, and all was well again in his little world. It was amazing how that could remedy this situation. If you don't know, like, and you're not going in with your OT sensory hat on of like, what else could be going on here? Looking for wet pants. You might not pick up on that. So this is an invitation for you with your child, with your student, with anyone, to really stop and be curious and think about what else could be going on if there is a challenging situation or behaviors coming up. Because more often than not, there is something else going on. It's never just one thing, right? We're big human beings. We have our emotional body, our physical body. There is so many factors going on. So I hope this demonstrated an example of something that could be perceived as a behavioral meltdown when really there was an underlying sensory issue going on, sensory aversion that caused a total disruption in his system. And it could have been so easily missed, so easily missed. And this poor little guy would have been so misunderstood, right? So be curious, take a beat, look with compassion. I also want to say here, I really, really, really am an advocate for mindfulness practices for everyone, but especially for regulating your nervous system and helping with some of these sensory challenges. So I made some sensory mindfulness activities, and they're all nature-based. So I love them. They're really sweet and really perfect to incorporate into your day. They're my free gift to you. So head to my website, sensationalempowerment.com, and you can find it there. And if you want to just hang out more, come visit me at Sensational Empowerment on Instagram. All right. Ciao.